scary 911 calls that unraveled shocking crimes. When a phone call to 911 is made, it often marks the most desperate moment of someone's life. Whether it's a victim's final plea for help, a witness reporting a horrifying crime, or an eerie whisper in the dark, these calls capture raw, unfiltered terror. Some of them provide crucial evidence that cracks open seemingly unsolvable cases, bringing justice to victims and closure to grieving families. 911 calls often capture some of the most terrifying moments in people's lives. In some cases, these emergency calls have played a crucial role in solving crimes and bringing justice to victims. Let's dive into 10 scary 911 calls that helped uncover heinous acts and led investigators to their perpetrators. The murder of Denise Amber Lee, 2008, Florida. A woman called 911 to report seeing a young woman in distress in the backseat of a green Camaro. She was frantic, stating that the driver was acting suspiciously. The woman in the back seemed to be trying to communicate something through the car window. Denise Amber Lee, a 21-year-old mother, had been abducted from her home by Michael King. The 911 caller's description of the vehicle and its location allowed police to track it down. Unfortunately, by the time police arrived, Denise had already been murdered. King was convicted and sentenced to death in 2009. The death of Faith Hedgepeth, 2012, North Carolina. A panicked friend called 911 after discovering Faith Hedgepeth brutally beaten in her apartment. The call was scary, filled with confusion and gasping as the caller struggled to describe the horrifying scene. For years, the case remained unsolved. However, DNA evidence found at the crime scene was eventually matched to Miguel Enrique Salguero Olivares in 2021. Investigators believe the 911 call contained subtle clues, including the caller's background noises and voice analysis, which helped verify suspect timelines. The kidnapping of Amanda Berry, 2013, Ohio. After being held captive for 10 years, Amanda Berry managed to escape and frantically called 911. "Help me, I'm Amanda Berry. I've been missing for 10 years. Berry's call led to the rescue of Gina DeJesus and Michelle Knight, 2 other kidnapped victims. Their captor, Ariel Castro, had held them in his house for years, subjecting them to unimaginable abuse. Castro was arrested and sentenced to life plus 1,000 years, but later took his own life in prison. The murder of Kelsey Smith, 2007. Kansas. Kelsey Smith's parents called 911 after she disappeared from a Target parking lot. They suspected abduction due to her sudden vanishing and found her car still in the parking lot. Authorities used cell phone pings to track Kelsey's location. Within days, they discovered her body near a lake. Surveillance footage from Target revealed Edwin Hall, who was arrested and later confessed to the crime. The disappearance of Zachary Bernhardt, 2000, Florida. Zachary's mother called 911, reporting her son missing from their home in the middle of the night. Her story kept changing, raising suspicions. Though Zachary was never found, the inconsistencies in his mother's 911 call played a role in shifting the investigation toward foul play. The case remains unsolved, but authorities suspect parental involvement. The East Area Rapist's last known attack, 2018, California. A woman whispered on the phone to 911, claiming a masked intruder had tied her up and was still in the house. The intruder fled when she activated a silent alarm. DNA evidence collected from this attack matched the Golden State Killer, who had terrorized California for decades. Joseph James D'Angelo was arrested and later pleaded guilty to 13 murders and over 50 rapes. The murder of Hella Crafts, 1986, Connecticut. A snowplow driver called 911 after seeing a man using a wood chipper near a frozen lake in the middle of the night. The driver's call led investigators to find Hella Crafts' remains, proving her husband Richard Crafts had murdered her and attempted to dispose of the body using the wood chipper. This became the first US murder conviction without a body. The discovery of the Turpin House of Horrors, 2018, California. A 17-year-old girl managed to escape her home and call 911, revealing that her 12 siblings were being held captive in filthy conditions by their parents, David and Louise Turpin. When authorities raided the home, they found the children malnourished, chained to beds, and deprived of education. The Turpins were sentenced to life in prison, and the children were freed from their years of abuse. The capture of the Grim Sleeper, 2010, California. A survivor of the Grim Sleeper called 911 after escaping. She provided a description of her attacker, including his car make and license plate. Her testimony and evidence from the 911 call led to the arrest of Lonnie Franklin Jr., who was responsible for 10-plus murders over decades. He was later convicted and sentenced to death. The Michael McClendon Massacre, 2009, Alabama. 911 received multiple frantic calls about a man going on a shooting spree, killing his mother, grandmother, and 8 others. Live updates from eyewitnesses helped police track and corner Michael McClendon, who ultimately took his own life before he could be captured. These 911 calls are not just haunting. They highlight the crucial role emergency services play in solving crimes. Whether it was an escapee seeking help, a terrified witness reporting strange activity, or a victim's last call for help, these calls changed the course of justice. While many of these cases ended in tragedy, the courage of those who called 911 helped bring closure, arrests, and justice to countless victims and their families. What do you think about these cases? Have you heard any other chilling 911 calls that helped solve a crime? If you're fascinated by real-life crime stories, chilling mysteries, and the cases that shook the world, don't miss out. Subscribe now to get the latest true crime content delivered straight to your inbox.